call me They call me Don't leave me
Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Market cap just under 400 billion. Bitcoin just under 9. Ethereum just under 700. Patcoin just over a cent. Bitcoin Cash just under 1,000. Neo under 100. Wait, Patcoin? What the fuck? So Patcoin apparently had some kind of airdrop where they 1000x or gave 1000x tokens or something like that happened. And yeah, that's just the glitch in coin market cap where you know if you have enough coins in circulating supply, you can technically be in the top 3. Cleared it out though. So if you look on the phone apps, Patcoin is still there, but Patcoin has packed its bags apparently and left. So there's a few points I want to make in this story, in this video today. And the point was, right now we're starting to see big blockchains, things like Porsche, big companies, hedge fund managers. Porsche is coming out with a blockchain for cars. There's going to be a ton of this going into the future, and this isn't surprising. This isn't blindsiding us. We talked about this all last year, that once the big money sniffed it out, they're going to want to get in early. So what's going to happen is more and more popular businesses that come out are going to have private sales. They're going to have, the ICOs are not going to go public. You're not going to be able to buy these coins until they hit public exchanges, when the founders and the early investors, and then the not so early investors, because you're going to have rounds. And what usually happens is you'll have 2 or 3 rounds, and each round the price just gets more and more expensive, and by the time it hits exchanges, everyone's already made a quick buck and you're buying expensive coins. That's what's starting to happen now. The thing about this is we already have a lot of public companies out there that had public ICOs where the people were able to get in. And the thing is, this is why it's important not to forget about the old coins that have been around for a while, to support the coins that are here. So, the 1%, the rich people, the big hedge funds, all of these companies rely on you, rely on the consumer. If you don't buy a Porsche car, then that company's not a company anymore. They're not going to be able to make enough money. This is what I'm saying. So these businesses that are going to come out on the blockchain, they're going to have these big private sales and institutional investors. They're going to make it very hard for the common person to get into these ICOs. And what happens then is, it's funny because they say they do this because they want to do it for your protection, right? They're trying to protect people who aren't rich. It's like, well, these are riskier, so we don't want to give you potential to make a lot of money. Instead, we're just going to let you buy, when it hits exchanges after it's already quote unquote succeeded. They don't want people to be able to lose money on speculative investments. Well, right, that's good, but then that's also bad, because it's hard to just be born an institutional investor, and to actually get to that point is very tough when you can't invest in anything worth a while. And what happens is you end up investing in projects outside of the system, when you could have just been into a more regulatory system where they can have like maybe max caps. If you're if you're not an institutional investor, maybe you can only invest X amount, something like that. In poker, you can't just go and invest, put down all your life savings. They have ways, they have problem gambling, all this stuff. So there can be measures in place without punishing everybody. It's very difficult when you're starting to see it. You're going to start to see it more and more, that these ICOs, they're not even ICOs, they're IPOs, and they're going to be just institutionalized to hell. And I just don't want people to forget about the companies that are already out there. And you don't have to use these blockchains. You don't have to use these products, right? You can use the alternative, something that's better. Like if Google was to come out with their own browser and try to compete with Brave, I don't have to switch to Google. I can continue using Brave. I don't think I'm going to be able to get a good good. I don't think I'm gonna get a good deal on a Google coin. I don't think they're gonna be. I think it's gonna be very expensive. You're gonna come in and it's not gonna be some, 10 million, 20 million, 30 million market cap. It's gonna come out and it's gonna be in the billions. And your chance for a 10x even at that point seemed very, very meager, very, very slim. That's the thing. Businesses die all the time. I don't need to use some popular company just because it's popular. Another way we can beat these guys. One thing we can do, just like with crypto, be first. That's it. These hedge fund managers, as much money as they have, they're dinosaurs. They move very slowly. They poach on talent. They come in on the back of talent and they buy it. That's all they do. They're not very savvy when it comes to sifting through the dirt and finding these gems. These people aren't, these people are coming in and investing in the obvious projects, the one that they know are going to succeed. It's like, this is where we have an advantage in crypto because it's still open landscape. Not everything is going to be institutionalized, meaning that you're going to be able to invest in projects worldwide. You're not, it's like, this is a global thing. It's not going to be, these borders are going to be meaningless in this virtual world where there's no institutions that we have to go through, right? You don't have to go through the bank to transfer to this bank and have to go through all these loopholes and holdings and all that. I always have to deal with that, especially if it's a large amount of money. They always want to know, even if you already proved where you got it, every time you do it, they always, where'd you get it? How'd you do this? How'd you do that? And you always have to feel like a criminal just to access your own money, which that's not how it should be. That's how it is right now. And we're moving to this point where we can be first. We can spot these projects before the big institutional investors get their hands on it. Yeah, they're going to be investing in the obvious projects, but there's still a lot of diamonds in the dirt. And to be able to be first, it's going to be harder and harder each year, but the reward might not be as great. That's the whole point with this. Like, it's kind of like Moore's Law in a shit way. It's like, the higher you get up, the more time, the more something passes, the harder it's going to get. The competition is going to get bigger until the next big thing. We have blockchain. You have so many different ways to do it right now, from proof of stake, proof of work, delegated proof of stake. You got things like Hashgraph. You got things like the Tangle. You got all these crazy innovations coming on. All they're trying to do is secure and decentralize data. That's pretty much, most people know at this point that decentralization is better because you don't have a central point of failure if you have a centralized system. Now, if you're in a centralized system and you're at the top, that's very shitty to hear because you have all the power and you don't want to give up any of that power. But as to the rest of the shareholders, to the whole company as a whole, it's better for everyone else if it's more decentralized, where there's not one point of failure. There, you have to go through all kinds of things to actually bring down the system as a whole. It's much more powerful to have it spread out, and that's why people are starting to see the power of blockchain, because it's really just taking the load off of these heavy points of failure. And the amount of hacks that are going on right now is astonishing. A lot of them aren't made public. A lot of them are kept very, very secret because no one wants to know. No one wants to ring a bell saying, "Hey, we're being hacked left and right." But the ones that do make it on the things that on the media are just ones that they couldn't even contain. But it's definitely a tipping point. You're starting to see this is what happens if you're a big institutional investor. You have to know. They're not all knowing. They have they're not going to be able to have time to research, and they know this. So now they're trying to form to where they're not going to be blown away, to where the old ancient way of doing things, having these big old hedge funds come in and rule all the market because what they invest in is what rules. But you don't understand, like blockchain, you don't need that much money. Like, there's a lot of people who are willing to put in work as a team. That was the biggest obstacle to moving forward, was people working together, being able to connect. Now people can come in, create value, and that value can in turn increase the price of a token, spread it out. I just think it's a crazy age that we're coming into, and being first on the spot. The last thing I'm going to leave this with is I'm not trying to time the market. It's very hard to time the market. You have this Mt. Gox trustee selling thousands of Bitcoin. Now, what happened when he sold about 10,000 Bitcoin at around 18,000? It's about the Bitcoin's about 18,000. He sold about in 2 chunks, about 10,000 Bitcoin. It's a lot of Bitcoin. And if you're at the top, right? If you're at the top, there's no legs, there's no foundation. You don't need that much to send it going down. You know, if you were to drop a couple $100 million on Bitcoin on a few exchanges and knock the price down when there's no legs, you know, there was a lot of buy, but there was a lot of people buying up the ladder, but there wasn't too many people filling in the buy orders behind it. It was just more people just FOMOing, buying whatever they could. They're not trying, you know, the new people weren't trying to set buy orders. They were just buy. And there was no one filling in the gap. So when that person went to dump all of that, there wasn't some guy willing to spend hundreds of millions of dollars in buy orders at 20K Bitcoin. So, you know, it kind of fell through. Then you had the first one, and then he just decided, you know, it had a bounce, and he decided to slam it again. It doesn't take that much when it's at the top. It's there's no foundation. That's all I'm saying. So it's like, yeah, you can see this number, and you can be like, oh, a couple hundred million wouldn't be that much. But it's everything if timed right. If you time it right at the peak when there's no legs, very easy to fall. So, you know, I'm not trying to time the market. I don't know when this fucker is going to sell. I don't know when any kind of FUD's going to come out. I'm not trying to time the market that way. That's where a lot of people get slaughtered. You know, I don't play their game. The way I win versus their game is I buy at cheap prices and I hold. Yeah, I do my swing trading when it's obvious to me. But other than that, if I believe in Bitcoin is going to be around 5 years, I believe it's just going to keep going up in value. Yeah, of course I could be wrong. You go to, you know, it could go to whatever. I have my beliefs. I think I've used it. I think it's amazing. I think it's not going anywhere. So if I have that belief, I'm just going to hold. And yeah, I could get greedy and I could try to make more Bitcoin on this swing trading and trying to do all that. Yeah, I could do that. You know, I have professionals that do it. We're really conservative, but at the same time, you know, I have a few that are taking risk, and, you know, we've gotten burnt, you know, and it happens. It's very tough. You don't have the inside information. If you're playing against people who have more information than you, it's very easy to just get the rug swept from under you. So what I do personally is the way I beat them is, hey, I believe in the technology. I'm not going to play their game of FUD and dump and pump and run and all this bullshit. I'm just going to hold, buy when I can, make moves when I can, and find good projects. One last thing, I said this was the other one, but one last thing is, I invest in ICOs that are small sometimes, even if I might think that, hey, man, I might be able to get it cheaper post-ICO. Because there might not be an ICO if I don't bring my influence, if we don't help raise a lot of money, like with these small projects, something, you know, these small projects that I believed in at the beginning, something like a Vibe, right? Like, if you don't help bring these projects to life, then, you know, you don't even have a chance at 100x, at a 50x with these small ones. So I like to kind of change the universe in a way. It's like, well, I brought light. I helped bring a project that might not be here if I wasn't a part of it, or be here in the capacity that we know it. And in that way, I don't mind holding, right? Because I've held coins for a long time, and then boom, they boom. That's how it works. I like to create my own reality. That's another way to fight these bankers, these big time hedge fund people, the people who are going to come and try to crush the game. It's the create your own reality. Create a path that they can't ever see because it doesn't exist, because you're creating it. You know, that's why I'm saying, man, like, don't take this time for granted. This is the time where you can band together, meet a lot of people, make a force, have a team. You know, money's not everything. Manpower, people power. That's where it is. That's what money buys. That's what you have to understand. If you can find a bunch of like-minded individuals that are willing to work for a goal in the future, a vision in the future, that's everything. Because what do you need money for? To hire people to build shit. You don't need iron. You don't need fucking all of these materials. These people are building code out of a computer, off their brains. It's like an artist. So all an artist needs is paper and a pen, paper and brush, and the same, you know, keyboard and a decent computer to make some code. So just, I wouldn't take this for granted. I wouldn't take this for granted. I wouldn't worry about too much what the big hedge fund people were doing. This is where you feel like giants are around you and you're going to squash. Hey, just do you. Find a project you like. Run as hard and fast as you can. Realize that if the years go by and it seems like it's getting harder and it seems like you're getting less, that's natural, that's going to happen, because that's how life is. It's only easy pickings until the pickings are gone. Then you have to scrape for it. Then you have to claw for it. Then you have to fight for it. And then you've reached a peak where it's like, hey, I'm going to invest in Google stock today. And people are like, oh, that's cool. But, it's not like anything fantastic, right? Like you have to recycle, find either a new project at the bottom, rinse and repeat. So that's the fun, right? Because there can't be an ending. If there was an ending, then the story would stop. So we can always keep finding new stuff. So enjoy your weekends. We kill it here. Cheers. Peace.